camera working? Yeah, I guess mine's working. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Smriti is there. Hi, Zirawar is there. That's nice. Let's wait for a couple of minutes. Rajvi is there. Rajvi, can you check your microphone and camera? Is it working?
Yeah, I'll just. My voice
Sure.
audible? Am I audible?
Your voice is totally audible. You want to check your camera?
Just a second. Am I
Perfect.
visible?
Yeah. Soham,
Yes.
the microphone. Just check. Ensure it's working. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you know, guys, where Siddharth is? He's joining.
I guess so. Like we don't know, but I'll just check.
Sure. Please check.
Akshita?
Are you checking with the team too?
Yes, yes. Akshita is here. She can also check her mic and camera.
Akshata. Akshita Goel, can you speak?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
You're totally audible. Yes. Yes. Perfect. Good. Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So we are waiting for
Siddharth
just
and
one.
Viren.
Okay. But we have the team members for both the team, correct?
Yeah. We have two members from both the teams.
Yeah. So we can start the tossing of the coin, and
Yeah.
Siddharth is there. Siddharth, do you want to check your microphone and the camera?
He's just connected to audio, so I don't think he heard what you just said. So that
Okay. Okay. We will wait for Sandeep. Uh, we have Sandeepa ma'am with us.
Is it good? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes. You're audible. Yeah.
Okay.
Now only we have Viren Singh is still remaining. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, ma'am.
I hope I'm audible and visible both. This is just a check before we start.
Yes, ma'am. You're visible. Yeah.
Thank you
You're
so
audible.
much.
Zirawar, we have the
Yeah,
team. I guess one person is just still to join, but we can start with the tossing of the coin and introduction of the
sure.
topic. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So before we start, I just want to go over some ground rules. I would request all of you to keep yourselves on mute when you're not speaking. And I'm just going to go over the rules and format one time before we do the coin toss. So you're going to be given 15 minutes of preparation, and each speaker is going to have 3 minutes of speaking time, after which anything you say won't be considered in the marking, but you will be allowed to finish your sentences. Between speakers, we are going to be giving you 1 minute of time to kind of prepare yourselves. And I'm going to be using a bell sound to signal the end of the time limit. So do you have any questions about the basic format and time and the rules? Okay, so if not, I would like to ask each team to nominate a temporary captain for the coin flip. So can you nominate someone who would like to call the flip?
Siddharth from our team.
Okay, and from the other team?
I'll do it. Rajvi.
Sure. So who wants to call heads or tails?
Tails.
Okay, I will take it.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to be flipping the coin now. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it's tails. So it's the other team gets to choose whether they want to be proposition or opposition.
Yeah. Opposition. We'll go for opposition.
And this is which team?
Team 2.
Team 2, sure. So that means team 1 is going to be proposition and team 2 is going to be the opposition. And now I'm going to be telling you the topic. So the topic is that we must not let AI engines take any decision without sharing their reasoning. I'll repeat it one more time. We must not let AI engines take any decision without sharing their reasoning. I'm going to put in the chat box as well, so you can kind of look at the exact wording. And we're going to be giving you 15 minutes of preparation time. Just one second. Yeah, so the topic's in the chat box. Can you all see it? Okay, sure. So I'm going to be giving you 15 minutes of preparation time, and your time starts now.
Just one more thing. I have to confirm the speaking order with them once.
Oh, sure. Okay. Before that, just confirm your speaking order.
Yeah, the proposition team is team 2, right?
No, team 2 is opposition.
Okay, then team 2 is opposition, and the first speaker from team 2 is Viren, second is Akshita, and third is Rajvi. Is that right?
Yes. That's right.
And from team 1, Shani will go first, then Siddharth, then Soham. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Okay, so your preparation time begins. Yeah, you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to ask. So, proposition in this case would mean that we should not let AI engines.
Yes, that's right.
That. So that's the proposition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Are there any other doubts?
Yeah, our team member is not here. So you started with the time?
No, I haven't started the time just yet.
All right, okay.
Do you have any way of contacting him or?
I'll just try. I'm not able to connect to him. I'll try again.
Sure. But I'll have to
He's
start the
just
time
joining.
limit.
Viren is
Preparation
just
time.
joining. Yeah.
He's joining?
Yes.
Okay. Since you have the topic, I'm gonna start the time right now. Good luck, and in 15 minutes we'll begin. Yeah, just a quick heads up. You have 5 minutes left in your preparation time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have 1 minute remaining. Okay, yeah, so your time for preparation is up now, and we're going to begin shortly. Yeah, so good evening and welcome to Augli's Republic Day debate competition. My name is Zoravar Singh Ghaman and I'll be your moderator this evening. A little bit about myself. I'm a second year undergraduate student at Ashoka University, pursuing a bachelor's degree in economics and finance. This debate is hosted by Augli, a startup that is striving to transform 21st century skills education by helping children develop the critical thinking skills necessary in today's world. Debating plays an important role in this endeavor by stimulating interdisciplinary learning, building confidence, improving communication and research skills, and cultivating quick thinking. With the development of AI technology, these skills are fundamental in today's job market. We've already seen AI beat humans at chess, with Deep Blue defeating Garry Kasparov in 1997. Thankfully, however, debate is one area where AI is yet to triumph over human ingenuity. The perfect example being one of our jury members, Mr. Harish Natarajan, who defeated IBM's AI debating system, Miss Debater. Mr. Harish Natarajan is a graduate of the University of Oxford and the University of Cambridge, and he's currently the head of economic analysis at AKE International. He is a European debating champion and has won a record number of international competitions. Mr. Natarajan was the first person to debate against and defeat AI-powered project debater in IBM's third Grand Challenge. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Natarajan to say a few words.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can all hear me. It's a pleasure to be here, admittedly virtually for all of us today. I just want to say a few things about debating just before we start, which I hope could crystallize why I think it's such an important activity for all of us to engage in. And perhaps a way of doing that is talking you through my own debating story and some things which I gained from debating. And I think to start, one thing which I found at school, studying in the United Kingdom, was that we would go through all these subjects, we would be told facts, we would try to recite those facts. And that's great. It's been really useful to be able to remember those. But that wasn't all I wanted from education. I want to be talking about contemporary issues. If we were going back to when I was in school, we were talking about I wanted to talk about the war in Iraq, whether this was a good or bad thing to do, which was a big political debate at the time. There were times instead where maybe you want to be looking at how do you assess the Modi government's COVID response or the Farm Bill. Those are all really important issues, but issues where we don't really have a space to talk about them in school. And debating for me was one of those few avenues where I could talk about those. That was the first thing which I got from debating, an intellectual space to talk about things which interested me, which didn't fit into the educational curriculum. The second big thing which I got from debating was the ability to look at both sides of an argument, which is often when we have a position, we just believe something, or we read a couple of articles and we go, oh, that must be true. Well, maybe it's true. But how about if you were asked, what is the best way I can provide a counter argument to it? I think this does two purposes. It forces you to interrogate your own beliefs. How strongly can I believe them? And if when you look at the best version of the other side, rather than a weaker version of it, the best version because this is what you're being challenged to come up with, you're being challenged to read credible sources from every aspect. You might believe what you believe better, and that's fine. But it's because you've thought about it carefully, or maybe you change your mind. Maybe you realize those things you thought were true are far more complex in reality, that very rarely does any side have a monopoly over what is right, and debating forces you to challenge your own opinions and actually either strengthen those opinions or weakening them, but either one of those can be valuable. The third thing which I got from debating was not just the ability to critically analyze, but present clearly, which is irrespective of what field you go into later in your life. If you're a doctor, you'll be much less good at your job if when you have to talk to a patient, you're not really able to communicate clearly what the problems they have are and what the potential remedial causes are. If you're an engineer, can never talk to clients, you'll be much less good at your job. You can be the best in any of these professions, just doing the technical work, but you're going to be missing something and missing vital skills if you can't communicate that to a normal member of the audience. And I find that through my own workspace, where I work as an economist, but I have lots of clients who are not specialists in the subject, and you have to communicate really complicated things to them in a way which is not inaccurate, but at the same time, easy to digest from a non-specialist perspective. And that's one of the third things you get from debating. And to me, one of the final parts is just the ability to become more confident. I hated public speaking when I was a child, the idea of standing up in front of people and trying to talk in front of hundreds of people at the most. And then over time, you just become more and more comfortable at it. And the thing is, that bleeds over into your everyday life, that often we don't feel confident in a social setting because we don't know how to communicate with it. We don't feel that we can be loud, but you don't have to be. Debating is all about, I can be confident that that my opinions are at least justified, that I should be able to phrase them. And if you can talk in front of 200 people, talking to a group of 5 people in a job interview, 10 people in a university classroom, 3 people, just when they're other friends of yours, becomes so much easier. And that's at least some of what you get from debating. Everyone's going to get different things from it. But for me, that's what its value was. And hopefully all of you who are doing it today and will hopefully continue doing at least some debating in the future will continue to get at least some of those things, if not other benefits as well. So I really look forward to hearing the debate today, and I really wish you all the best, both today and going forward.
Thank you for sharing your experiences and those valuable insights, Mr. Natarajan. Our next jury member is Ms. Sandeepa Rai, the principal of Rotary Public School. Ms. Rai has 24 years of experience in the field of education, starting as an English teacher in St. Joseph's Covenant, and has experience teaching both ICSE and CBSE for grades 9 to 12. She's also a keen orator and debater herself. I would like to ask Ms. Rai to also say a few words.
I'm just trying to switch on the video, yeah. A very warm good evening to all of you present here. Wishing you all a very happy 72nd Republic Day. I think the day chosen is perfect and the theme and topic very relevant to our times. In fact, I would like to congratulate Augley for getting you all together on this platform and unleashing, as we educators are dabbling with, encouraging 21st century skills, whether it's the 3 C's, communication, collaboration, that we were going to look forward to see you here today. And I'm equally excited to see the kids here who are going to put forth cogent views and engage in constructive perspectives and arguments in a platform which is virtual, as we are all, very much present on such a platform these days, that we are able to get the jury members from across and you from various parts of the country together. So I'm so looking forward to, and I think everything has been so well explained by Harish. So I think we should be good to go. And I'm keenly waiting to listen to each one of you. Wish you the very best. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Ms. Rai. And our final jury member is Mr. Kamal Kashyap, the co-founder and CTO of Augley. Before we begin, I want to confirm that all the jury members have received their score sheets. If you haven't, okay, sure, thank you. So we will now begin with the debate. I'm just going to go over the rules and format once. Both teams have already been given their assignments as proposition and opposition, and have had 15 minutes of preparation time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes of speaking time, beginning from the proposition and alternating between the 2 teams. There's going to be 1 minute gap between speakers, and I will be keeping track of the time and be using a bell sound to signal the end of this time period. Please keep in mind that any arguments presented beyond the time limit won't be considered. However, the speakers can complete their sentence. The topic for today's debate is, we must not let AI engines take any decision without sharing their reasoning. Team 1 will be the proposition and team 2 will be the opposition. Before we begin, I would like to briefly introduce the participants. From team 1, we have Eshani Gupta from Heritage Experiential Learning in Gurgaon, Siddharth Banga from Mira Model School in Delhi, and Soham Dev from Wilson School in the United Kingdom. From team 2, we have Viren Singh Tak from Mayo College, Ajmer, Akshita Goyal from St. Patrick's Junior College in Agra, and Rajvi Sharma from Learning Path School in Chandigarh. Without any further ado, we begin with speaker 1 from the proposition, Aishani Gupta. You are going to have 3 minutes starting now.
Thank you very much. AI forms a major part of today's world and is noticeable almost everywhere. It has had a great impact on the Earth's population and will continue to do so. I feel that no AI decision should be taken without the AI explaining its reasoning. This is due to multiple reasons. Which I'm telling now. One is that AI, there have been many biases noticed with AI decisions. For example, it's shown biases against African Americans and Hispanics. Also, AI has been used for many negative decisions. For example, Twitter bots may have been used to affect the 2016 American elections. Also, AI doesn't give any kind of emotional support or participation. For example, if you're trying to make an emotional decision, an AI cannot help you because AI is just a robot. It's just a machine, and it can't really tell you what paths to take or something emotional, which really requires some kind of human support. Also, if you are trying to make a decision with a lot of research and important information, which is factual, AI sources information from the internet and whatever is posted on the web, where there are chances that it's not correct. It's all technical, and if you're trying to get an explanation from it, you can't really get that in an understandable way because AI formulates a kind of scientific or mathematical explanation for whatever it's trying to convey. And that's usually not suited to what humans need to understand and how they need to do it. It's, as I said, it's non-human. It can't feel or act the way humans can. So we should never really let AI take any of our decisions. And even if we do let it, we need to understand the reasoning behind the decision. Even if that reasoning is valid, we just need to look through it to see if this decision really makes sense and should we really take the decision. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Before we proceed, I just want to apologize. The speaker was just Aishani Das Gupta. I previously named her as Aishani Gupta. So thank you. The opposition will now have 1 minute to prepare, beginning now.
Zorav, should we call on the next speaker?
Yeah, so the minute's now up. Viren Singh Tak from the opposition will now speak. Viren, you have 3 minutes beginning now.
Sir, am I audible and visible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Thank you for the recognition. Namaskar. Greetings to the House at large. Wishing you a very happy Republic Day. I would like to take this opportunity speaking against the topic We must not let AI engines make decisions without sharing reasoning. We would like to set the house as common intelligent man. Now, we must understand the context of the topic. Here it means that should AI be allowed to make decisions for us and not explain us why they took the following decisions. We, as the opposition team, would like to present arguments about why to trust AI and how is it possible for us to believe so. So, I would like to begin by telling you an example. So there is a Japanese metro system. So it is totally AI design, and it is totally AI design, and it works with artificial intelligence technology. So it has a record of that there are no accidents happened till now, and it is designed in such a way that it is very safe for the people. So we should not question the abilities of AI right now. So the next thing I would like to say is that AI has helped accumulate and analyze a lot of customer data, which tells us a lot about the mindset with regard to what they are looking for through their searches of better analysis of data. So it is better equipped to forecast weather. It is a thing humans can't tell. So I would like to agree. I would also like to agree with the point of the proposition speaker. But sometimes we can trust AI with certain things. Therefore, we can trust AI without it sharing or questioning its abilities. So AI is a platform which can be very well trusted. Once again, wishing you all a very happy Republic Day. Proud to be opposing the motion. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Viren. The proposition will now have 1 minute to prepare, beginning now. Yeah, so the minute is now up. Speaker 2 from the proposition, Siddharth Banga, will now speak. Siddharth, you have 3 minutes, beginning
Yes.
from the time you begin speaking.
I will straight come to the point. When do we share our reasons of our doings? With our seniors, with our peers, basically with whom we think that they're capable of understanding. So are we today discussing that a day will come when artificial intelligence will not think us humans to be capable of understanding a particular thing? Are we discussing this seriously? Well, I would like to state that post World War II, Eisenhower stated that privatization of weapons will bring brutality on planet Earth. Isn't that true now? How am I associating non-state actors and artificial intelligence? Well, when I talk about a country like Iraq, when a person is dismantled by all the wars going on and they don't trust Iraqi government, what is the attractive alternative? Peshmerga. And then they join a Kurd force. So is this something that we are discussing, that when AI will understand the concept of survival of fittest as drawn by Charles Darwin, then this is very much said already that they won't consider humans as capable of improving themselves and might work for artificial intelligence and robots only instead of trusting us. I want you to think in that manner, that today also when I say, okay, Google, they respond. That means Google is hearing me all the time. Now I want you to think that what would happen if I remove entities like companies like Google from this whole chapter, and this just Siri and me. He's hearing me all the time, and he's storing all the data. He's storing all the variables that I'm providing to him. He might take a lot and more disastrous actions than comparing it to US elections, Russian interference, and selling data, etc. things. If you want me to give another scenario, then there is Azim, which is recently launched in India. Now, what is that? Azim full form stands for Atmanirbhar Skilled Employee-Employer Mapping. Now, this artificial intelligence-based app connect employer and an employee. For example, an company wants particular set of workers and ask Azim for it, and Azim don't state any reason that why he is providing a particular set of workers. Instead, just give them and might nurture interest of a third company, third entity. Won't this be more disastrous than human interference? As said by Stephen Hawking, that AI can sow seeds of end of human existence. Thank you. Is 3 minutes over?
Yeah, it just finished. Okay, thank you. The opposition will now have 1 minute to prepare, beginning now. Yeah, so the minute is now up. Speaker 2 from the opposition, Akshita Goyal, will now speak. Your 3 minutes begins from when you start.
Good evening to all. I'm going to speak against the topic. We agree that AI should let AI engines to take decisions independently. I would like to talk about the views that my worthy preposition friend said. AI ISND biased, humans who coded bar biased. If technology is not bad, users make it bad. And everyone know AI is bad emotionally. Why will we expect it to give us human warmth when it is not human? And AI isn't all about mind blogging information. AIs are used in water parks. Do we care if AI drops a certain amount of water on you if you're riding on that thing? According to a recent press release by Gartner, augmented analytics is going to be the next big trend, which will transform the way analytics content is advanced, expanded, and shared. VP analyzed that the story of the data analytics keep evolving from supporting internal decision making to continuous intelligence, information product, and appointing chief data officers. Wise business decisions are made when business executive and decision makers have reliable data and recommendation. AI not only improves the performance of both the individual members of the team but also the competitive edge of the business. Common sense and experience are no longer enough to anticipate the risk and consequences of the critical business choices. AI, with its varied application, helps businesses make informed and effective decisions which will have a positive impact on their business. Implementing AI is in your business isn't as tall and order as you may imagine. It can be incorporated with your existing business application to enhance them and make them invaluable. So from my opinion, AI should be given the right to make independent decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. The proposition will now have 1 minute to prepare, beginning now.
വെള്ളം കൊടുത്തിരോ മാ തണ്ണീര് പൊട്ടി
I'd request everyone to be on mute. There's a little bit of interference coming through. Okay, so the minute is now up. Soham Dev from the proposition will now speak. Your 3 minutes will begin when you start.
It has been said that data is the oil that the world runs on today, and AI is the engine that oil feeds. Any engine that is fed with faulty oil can never and will never function properly. AI is not self-evolving. AI needs to be taught. It functions based on its algorithm that is fed into. If we do not see the reasoning that AI has behind its decisions, then we are essentially allowing it to go on its rampant run throughout society, skewing what we believe to be right and wrong. For example, AI has been scientifically proven in a 2017 study to be more discriminant towards people of African American and Hispanic races. AI is not self-evolving. We need to teach it to evolve. As a maths teacher, you can't help a student get better at algebra without seeing where he's making mistakes. And it is the same situation here. Shalini Kantaya, in a 2020 documentary Coded Bias, explored this with a professor from MIT. She showed that AI is data-driven, but data can be biased and is never a representative of the population as a whole. For AI to be one day self-sufficient and able to make completely unbiased and personal decisions, we need to get it to that point first, which can never be done without knowing where the mistakes are happening and why they are happening. To conclude, AI is an exciting new prospect that has been made in very recent times. No mistakes till now does not mean no mistakes in the future. And to iron out these mistakes, we need to now look at the mistakes it is making right now to help secure our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Soham. The opposition will now have 1 minute to prepare, beginning now. The minute is now up. Speaker 3 from the opposition, Rajvi Sharma, will now speak. You have 3 minutes beginning from when you start.
All right. Thank you for the recognition. Very good evening to everybody present here. So first of all, let me put this thing straight that we do agree with the proposition that, okay, for some decisions, proper reasoning might not be required. But see, here's the thing, for things such as for building stocks, for buying stocks, you might need to give reasons about certain things, that why did you choose a particular stock. For example, also while telling whether why would you not go out, for that stuff you might need the reasoning. But for basic stuff such as billing, the most primary thing that AI does, I don't think so we would require that much. We would also care about that much information, that much reasoning, since we do not have that much memory too. I would like to rebut what the first speaker from the proposition side mentioned about the biases, about the Afro-American community from a 2017 study, if I'm not wrong, about the color recognition. That doesn't that prove automatically that we do not need AI to explain the reasoning behind situations? Because that was what reasoning would AI give to it? That's based on human philosophy, and it is a human code after all. And also, the second speaker mentioned about non-state actors. Non-state actors do not use AI. They don't instruct Siri to in bombing. They do not do that. AI is a human creation. It is more efficiently used for making bills. Considering what's India's position in the whole specter, in the whole sphere of AI, China and USA are the main stakeholders. They control 80% of the AI sector, and the rest 20% is with the rest of the world. And from that, India holds only 5%. And from that 5%, if we keep wasting uh, our resources on making this will basically just make it less time efficient. It would take more space. So what we're trying to say here is that it should not be mandatory for the AI to share reasoning for its decisions, because AI's life is to make our lives easier. When we listen to artificial intelligence, the first thing that comes into our minds is that it provides convenience to us. So I'll give you a very basic example. If you open a website, if you click on the open the window option, would you want it to give you reasons why you're here and what went into the coding? That's not that we do not want the background. For sure, for some reasons, for some instances, we might require the reasoning behind it, and that's important, but not for everything. It should not be mandatory, and we should not uh, typically convolute the whole thing to asking it to give reasonings for it. In the end, I just like to sum up with it that not once in the whole debate the proposition has mentioned why it should be why it should be mandatory for every single decision and every single decision for AI to give reasoning. Hence, the debate is not fruitful that way if they could not provide us with basic solutions to that. Thank you. I address my case here.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of the debate today. Both teams put up a commendable showing, debating their respective sides and demonstrating the critical thinking skills that Mr. Natarajan and Ms. Rai mentioned at the beginning. As the jury members tabulate their scores and determine the winners of the debate, I'd like to introduce Mr. Kamal Kashyap, the CTO and co-founder of Ogly, and would request him to say a few words.
Hello, Zorver. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So I guess commendable job with everyone. So, so we will take Q&A from the students, and, everyone can type the questions in the chat box. We will pick it and we will, ask the question to ma'am and the sir. Yeah. So, I just start with one thing. So today, as we are celebrating the 72nd sort of Republic Day of India, so, on a daily basis, I go for bicycling. So today I see a scenario, the tractors doing the rallies and all, and you can see, things which you hear in the media, coming live to you, and then you can see the, the power of the tool of debating. So debating as a tool goes much more than this activity that we are doing. It's a tool to, solve the conflicts. The conflict can be personal, whether go for some like binary options, whether going for, abroad or staying in India, whether, choosing some sort of stream, or whether this can be, the large like farm laws should be, take them back, should not. It can be about the climate change. So the tool debating, can be effectively used for a lot of things, and primarily wherever there is a conflict. And conflict, we have personal conflicts, we have conflicts around, the situations. Yeah, I can. We can start with the questionnaires.
Thank you for that, Kamal. We're going to be having an open Q&A between the jury members and the audience, the participants. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and I can read them out loud. Okay, great. We have one question from Soham. He's asking, what did Mr. Natarajan do in order to go to Cambridge and study? So this question is directed to Mr. Harish Natarajan, sir.
Yeah, well, now you're going back years. So I studied for Oxford for my undergraduate and Cambridge for my postgraduate. So in terms of what I studied, at Oxford, I studied politics, philosophy, and economics, and at Cambridge, I did economics. In terms of how I got there, I think there's just a couple of things which many universities find to be very useful. You'll find smart students across the world, people who do well at their degrees. The real question is, though, what do you bring which is beyond that? What other skills do you have? And for me, I actually think a large part of it was that I had a couple of years of debating experience, so it made it easier when I was at my interview to be able to answer questions coherently, but also just in general, extracurricular activities, not necessarily 10, 15, 20 of them, but nonetheless, doing one or two of them and doing them well shows that you're not just one-dimensional. It's not just you spent your entire life studying for hours after hours. You learn and do other things. For some people, that's going to be sport, it's going to be music. And I think it's all about people finding their own niche, which is really valuable to you developing. And the flip side of that is when universities are deciding who to allow in, they look for people who are showing a greater interest and greater development beyond just academics in general.
Thank you, sir. Another question we have is about your defeating of the IBM robot or the AI. So what strategy did you employ in order to beat the AI? And did you kind of alter it based on what you normally do, or did you just go about it as you usually would?
So one thing which struck me well before the debate is that artificial intelligence has at least one huge advantage over me, which is we both get the topic 15 minutes beforehand, but whether or not we did is almost irrelevant here, which is AI can process, in this case, 10 million different articles, which was something like 3 billion different lines. In a lifetime, no human being could read that, yet alone remember it. So what artificial intelligence had was it would have a lot more factual information than I ever would. So one of the things you would normally do in a debate, human versus human, is what is the evidence I have? What are the studies I have? Can I use that to strengthen my case? Well, that becomes far less powerful when facing a debater who has that advantage over you. So you look for what you're potentially better at. And that is sometimes about creating an emotional connection with the audience, that you can seem to be more authentic, using careful logic and analysis a step beyond what artificial intelligence is able to do, at least in the realm of natural language processing, argument construction, careful rebuttal. So it isn't radically different than how I would normally debate, but what you focus on when you look at AI and debating against AI is slightly different, and in some ways dramatically different, than when you're debating against a human being. And on a more general level, I think that's perhaps suggests some of the routes forward when it comes to us educationally about what kind of skills we need to develop, because simply knowing lots of information and be able to remember it won't be what distinguishes our ability from even relatively accessible algorithms, which could be online and open source within the next 5 years.
Thank you for those insights, sir. That's really interesting. And another question we had that kind of relates to what you were saying is from Ms. Sandeepa Rai. The question is, what is the best way to research material in the short duration allowed for debate preparation? And do you have any tips for how one should go about using that time effectively?
Well, I think when you're on the pressure to produce a quick result with ideas and opinions and facts, I would definitely say that it really depends a lot on your research skills. If you have been doing this, and you know, I'm just giving an example to you as a teacher of English. When earlier I went to my classes, I would go with this knowledge loaded that I know everything that is there to teach. and I would seldom switch on the smart board, and I would do that probably the end as a quick revision tool to put a closure to the concept start. But today, when I am teaching virtually, I'm ensuring that when I'm introducing an author, I'm actually looking for the author, looking for his achievements, probably telling my children about a book more than what he's written or other things that he has helped to add to the literary world. And also if I'm teaching a poem, I actually go back to a song that I remember having sung, which deals with the topic. So when I come to present things like this on a virtual platform, wherein I need to have very quick research skills to know where to look for what is relevant. So I think Google is the answer. And a lot of your ideas should be, it's not that whatever you see there, you just speak it out, but yes, you get inputs, and then it's the way you put your perspective forward, which is very important when you present. So I think a debate should have a lot of, your spirit should be there, your ideas should be there, the way you put forth, the way you convince, the way you argue, it should be laden with emotions too, and just not merely calling and speaking of facts or presenting things as it would be in Google. Thank you.
Thank you for that piece of advice, ma'am. And the next question we have is open to the both of you. Since nobody's sure about the future of AI, how do you think India can deal with the unemployment it would inevitably bring along?
I think we have an economist on board and also a great debater. So I would ask Harish to please answer that.
Well, I think it's worth first thinking a little bit about the premise. And I know lots of people go, artificial intelligence, it takes lots of our jobs. And there is some truth in that, but I think we should push that a little bit further. And one thing which strikes me, that when it comes to new technology, in my hand right now is a phone which has more power than the machines which sent man to the moon in the 1960s. I can download a chess app more powerful than Deep Blue. We think of artificial intelligence as something which is inaccessible to many normal human beings. And certainly, even this technology, the technology I'm speaking of is inaccessible to some human beings, but it's not as inaccessible as we think it is. And there are also going to be a large number of new opportunities which are created. And there we go, maybe destroys some jobs. It probably does. It certainly does. Maybe it creates others. We don't know exactly how that balances out. So that's one thing which is worth considering. No one really knows the answer to it, but it isn't entirely one way. It isn't a given that artificial intelligence doesn't provide opportunities for a lot more people to be employed. But for those people who are looking for how you do well in this AI world, I think part of the question is what skills end up being useful. And again, there's going to be some uncertainty to it. What I would say is that purely knowing and remembering will not be the most valuable skill we have. It is going to be a skill. I'm certainly saying that everyone needs to do that. Otherwise, if you don't know things and you don't remember them, you probably don't know the baseline of many things which you want to be able to discuss. But it's going to be also that next step, asking questions based on the information we have, being able to critically analyze what of these two positions is more likely to be true. AI will give us lots of facts, lots of material, lots of analysis, but how do we compare them is going to be one of the skills we have. How do we communicate with other people? And it's about trying to work out where we do better than a machine can, at least in the foreseeable future, and those are the skills to work on. And I think that's true about everyone, everywhere in the world. And in India in particular, I think lots of those are still going to be the valuable skills going forward. And I think when it comes to your own educations, the education of people afterwards, hopefully the shift is from rote learning to some rote learning, but also other forms of learning instead. And I think every country needs to do that. And India is absolutely no exception.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. Another question we have is, how do you make sure to steer clear of logical fallacies and present an effective argument? So this, both of you on the floor.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sorry. How do we steer clear of logical fallacies in order to present an effective argument?
Well, I think that you can't put an argument forth without logic. Every argument, view, an opinion of yours has to be loaded with logic. So I think that the entire, even if you put a wrong thing right, and if you are in the other side of the proposition or the opposition, how you're able to derive and enjoy that part of putting your own logic, your own perspective to what is or what isn't, so that the audience is convinced and the house is convinced that everybody has their perspective of looking at things. So you need to ensure that how you put it, it's your, that big spark that comes to you when you suddenly realize, okay, this I can counter by with this argument of mine. So I think it's all about ensuring your logic with policies put together to create a great debate. I think Harish would add to that.
Yeah, I guess in a simple form, an argument has two steps, which is, this is my statement. Why is it true? Why does it matter for whatever we are discussing? But the reason we need to answer those questions isn't just because we need to answer them. We also have to think, well, what would someone who disagrees with me say? And if you build an argument based on a logical fallacy, when you ask yourself, okay, I'm going to say this, but what would I say if I heard that? You spot the logical fallacies in your own case or in your own argument because you're thinking about how you would attack it. And I think that's also true about, say, writing an essay. You'll write a few sentences about why you believe something, but you're also going to consider the counter arguments to it. In a debate, that's what is the rebuttal likely to be? And the second you start asking yourself, well, how would I respond to this? Or how will someone else respond to this? You start becoming more and more aware of what the logical fallacies are likely to be, both in why something is true and why something ends up being important. So it's about being critical of what you are saying. Yes, you can come up with an argument, but can you come up with a counter argument? And can you come up with a counter to that counter argument? Once you start doing that, you start breaking down the logical fallacies which would otherwise potentially exist in the cases, speeches you're giving, or in the essays you're writing.
I think that was really interesting. Almost the opposite of a straw man, almost a steel man in a way. One more question we had was, what strategies did the two of you employ in order to improve your public speaking skills?
Zorawar, can you just repeat that again?
Yeah, what helped both of you improve your public speaking skills?
Well, I think you need to be there to do it. When you stand in front of the audience and the first time, I'm really sorry, I'm not able to get my video on. It says Zoom is unable to detect the camera. So let me try that again. But I think, if you need to improve your public skills, the first thing is you need to have confidence of the content that you're going to deliver. The manner with which you're going to convince, and the body language and the words, all these three, if you're equipped with, I think you would be a winner when you speak anytime. And I think without these three, when you don't carry your confidence, you're content with you, you're always going to be nervous at the end of the day. And to keep it really short, it's practice makes you perfect. And the more you go up there and the more you go in front, the better you become every day. Thank you.
I don't have a huge amount to add to that, but people talk about strategies that they try to deal with when it comes to public speaking. And the way I look at it, or used to look at it, is we're always confident when we're talking to a friend and a one-on-one conversation. Why is it different when we're talking to 100 people? And I think the answer for most of us is it just feels different. Well, how about if you stand up in front of that audience and treat it as if you're talking to one member of that audience, one person who you know? And that, I think, at least starts as a good approximation. And then as you do more and more, and you become more and more confident, it becomes easier. But I think we all find our own strategies. And perhaps the place to start, if you're not confident about public speaking, is think about when you are definitely confident about speaking. And there are clearly going to be many cases where that's the case. Talking to a friend, talking to family, and work out how you treat public speaking like that form of private speaking, and then build from there. And then as you practice more, you get better and better at it. And some of those easy strategies you use at the start, 2-3 experiences down the road, you may no longer need to use.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think that brings us to the end of the Q&A. I'd now like to invite Mr. Kamal Kashyap so he can share the result.
So results we have. So guys, can you guess who is going to be the winner? in the chat box. Team 1 is the proposition with Soham, Aishni, Siddharth, and team 2 is Rajvi, Viren Singh Tak, the against team. Tie, okay. We don't have a tie. So the winner is team 1, who speak in the favor of the motion. And the best speaker, any guesses? It's Soham from the team 1. Now I have the last question to the Harish. So Harish, on the same motion, what will your stand? Will you, given you the possibility where you will go? You will go against or for? What you will think about it, and which sort of AI, engines you will trust, and in which sort of components, in your life, where you will go with the AI versus the human part, and in which you will go with the humans as against the AIs.
So I'm gonna fudge that first part of the question. I don't know what side I actually believe in. And I think, in a sense, listening to this debate highlights that there are times where AI seems really powerful and other times where it seems really weak. And I believe that sometimes it's about the quality of the data. As we hear in the debate, the quality of the data is what powers the AI engine. Well, if the data is bad, the results are bad. Except AI probably does processing better than us. So maybe slightly worse data than we get as a human being may produce better results. Or if we believe that there are biases in the data, there's probably biases in human cognition too. So it's pretty difficult for all of us to know exactly what the answer is. And I think for me, as I've debated so much, I thought about all these arguments. Sadly, my answer is, I really don't know. But what AI do I trust? I think like everyone, I trust Google when it comes to searching for things. I will trust different forms of AI in different areas. Would I trust AI in criminal justice? I'm not 100% sure. Would I trust AI when it comes to engineering? Probably, because that seems like we can get good data and we can get good computation as a result of it. So it really varies from area to area. And like many of the most important issues we're discussing, I think the answer is it depends. And anyone who's 100% certain is probably at least slightly wrong.
Okay, so one more question. So considering you have currently beat the AI, do you have any prediction in terms of when the AI will able to beat maybe you or maybe the next debater? Obviously, you are not a technologist, but maybe as economist, your work is predicting the risk. So when sort of that risk in terms of time spent.
So perhaps just to phrase the question slightly differently, what is it about debating? Debating is partly about your ability to have a lot of information. That's one part of it. AI is already ahead of humans in that. When it comes to debating, it's partly about natural language processing. And even if I look at the things around my house, they still somewhat struggle with that. But that seems to be transitory. 5 years, 10 years down the road, that's probably going to change. The ability to construct arguments is something AI is already in a good position of doing. It can't do so quite as precisely as human beings, but almost certainly will be able to do so at some point. And it's the ability to understand what I'm saying and find the counter arguments to it. That's going to be relatively difficult, but none of those skills seem like something that artificial intelligence, maybe 10 years down the road, maybe 15 years down the road, will be able to do. The one area where AI will probably struggle is, can it make what it's saying mean something to the audience? Will the audience believe it emotionally? Will they believe it is important? And that's perhaps an area where we just don't trust the machine to be emotional. And that might be just a underlying difficulty artificial intelligence has when it comes to debating. Having said all of that, if we go back 25 years and someone said, what will the technological environment look like in 25 years? You could have made your best guesses, but I guarantee you everything would have been wrong. I remember when I was a child going to one of these tech shows, and the big innovation was effectively televisions on refrigerators as the thing people thought would be one of the big things in the future. Well, I've never seen a television with a refrigerator, but it certainly wasn't the big thing going forward. So part of the answer is we don't know, but lots of the skills, at least incrementally, seem like something a machine will be able to do at some point, but quite possibly not all of them.
Sure. Zuravar, you can
Yeah,
continue.
sure. So as we've come to the end, I want to congratulate Team 1 for the victory and also Team 2 for a valiant showing. Before we wrap up, I would like to request everyone to turn their cameras on so we can take a quick picture. So please do that.
Zoravar, you need to help me because there's something really wrong with it keeps coming and keeps switching off. I really don't know whether it's from your end because it's not in my control at present.
Maybe you can leave the meeting and join really quickly.
I'll do
That
that.
sometimes helps.
Maybe I'll do that.
And I guess next time we as Oakley will like to, do the real debating. We want to invite both of the hosts in a real setting, maybe in the upcoming summers. Yeah.
Ma'am, are you able to switch on the camera now?
I don't think she's joined back as of yet.
She has joined, I guess.
Not seeing it again. Just-
No. You just need to give me a minute again. It's not coming on. It shows that it's failed to start the video recording. I did leave, but when I joined, it showed for a while and again. Let me join from a different device. Give me a second, please.
We should wait for 1 minute more, and then I guess if she's not able to join, we will take a snap.
Ma'am is joining again.
Okay.
Yes, we can see you.
I'm there. Sorry to keep you all waiting, but I think I really wanted this special moment to capture this moment. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you so much. Can everybody come on in the cameras? It'll be lovely to see the faces behind and the energy. Thank you. Siddharth, Tarun, Anushka, Khushi, will be lovely to see you as well. Okay. Thank you so much, and a happy Republic Day to all of you once again. You truly made it special.
Thank you so much, and a very well done to each one of you who put forth your views and came in front, whether virtually. We enjoyed every part of you being here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you for many more.